In the near future, a man warned everyone about the world's end, but nobody listened, so he decided to save the world himself. Not from a disaster, but from the very people in it. The story begins with a brilliant scientist, Dr. Dennis Skinner. He developed a miracle painkiller called Hapna. It was cheap, it had zero side effects, and it took over the world overnight. People said it freed them from suffering, a wonder drug that could save humanity. But then, 1 year later, Dr. Skinner vanished, and it turns out Hapna wasn't a miracle. It was a trap he set for every last one of us. 3 years after his disappearance, Skinner posted a video on every platform across the globe. He had returned with a message. He declared that humanity, hopelessly dependent on his drug, was already dead. That our endless struggle for short-term gains had shattered the planet, and that we needed to be punished for our sins. Then came the bombshell. He revealed that Hapna was engineered to stay in the body, to mutate after 3 years, and to kill every single person who had ever taken it. You know, as a treat. He claimed there was no way to purge it from the bloodstream, but he held the cure. The world had just 30 days. 30 days for someone to find him, or humanity would be erased. Chaos erupted instantly. Riots tore through cities, pharmaceutical companies were set ablaze, and the stock market plunged into a historic crash. While the world was burning, a man named Axel Gilberto was serving a sentence of 888 years. In a maximum security prison, he was minding his own business when he got a visitor, a mysterious woman named Hirsch, who knew everything about him, right down to his shoe size. Hirsch offered him a deal: help find Dr. Skinner, and in return, she would grant Axel his freedom.
I want you to help me find him. That's the favor I came here to ask you.
For Axel, this was an offer he couldn't refuse, mostly because he has a bad habit he just can't kick. He loves breaking out of prisons. A perfectly normal and healthy hobby. The moment Hirsch's 10 minutes were up, Axel made his move. In a flash, he disarmed a guard, snatched his gun, and with a calm, "Nobody move!" the entire facility went into lockdown. The alarms blared. Axel, now free of his cuffs, began his masterpiece. He moved through the prison like a ghost, a one-man wrecking crew taking down guards with brutal efficiency. He wasn't just escaping, he was putting on a show. In a move straight out of an action movie, Axel made his escape through the ventilation shaft. Like a bird let out of its cage, he was free once more. Hirsch immediately ordered the team to chase Axel.
Bring the car around immediately. He just flew away.
Roger that.
He casually strolled into the city, still in his prison uniform, and had the nerve to tell a cop it was the latest fashion trend. The officer, completely oblivious, actually bought it. Clearly Officer of the Year material right there. The moment the cop's radio crackled with the name Axel Gilberto, our hero was already inside a clothing store, slipping into something he liked, right off a mannequin. This stunt, however, didn't go unnoticed. Meanwhile, Hirsch and her team, Lazarus, were tracking his every move. A high-speed chase ensued with police drones closing in as Axel sprinted through Central Station. The Lazarus team, led by an agent named Doug, predicted his moves and cornered him on a rooftop high above the city. With a gun aimed at him and nowhere to run, Axel seemed trapped. But then he spotted a drone closing in. At that exact moment, a flock of pigeons burst into the air. Axel didn't hesitate. He smirked, took a leap of faith, and grabbed the drone in midair. He clung to it as it carried him down toward the street below. The moment he landed, a starstruck girl ran up to him. She was convinced his escape was the coolest street performance she'd ever seen. She begged for a selfie, and as Axel reluctantly posed, she zapped him with a taser hidden in her bracelet, knocking him out cold. When he finally woke up, he was in a strange room, surrounded by the very people who had been chasing him. Hirsch reappeared on a monitor, welcoming him to the team. Like it or not, Axel Gilberto was now a member of Lazarus. The mission was simple: find Dr. Skinner and save the world. The team was a collection of misfits, each fitted with a bracelet that would burn their hand off if they tried to escape. Great for team morale, I'm sure. There was Doug, the team coordinator, Chris, a gun specialist, Leland, a teenager skilled in piloting drones, and Elena, a quiet girl who was secretly the world-class hacker known as Mad Screamer. Their first lead was a company that sold survival bunkers, which Skinner had purchased years ago. The team split up. Chris and Axel went to check Skinner's bunker in the Arizona desert. At the same time, Doug and Leland were sent to the company's abandoned office. As they searched for clues, they were held at gunpoint by two debt collectors looking for the company's owner. As for Chris and Axel, things got complicated fast. They found an old, unconscious man. Thinking he might be Skinner, they approached cautiously, but they didn't have time. They were ambushed by two rival gangs, a Russian mob and a Mexican cartel, both hunting Dr. Skinner. The bunker exploded into chaos. A wild three-way firefight broke out. It was a storm of mistaken identities and flying bullets, ending only with the arrival of the FBI and the DEA. It was a crushing realization that everyone had been after the wrong guy. Just a typical Tuesday for our heroes. Just as they hit a wall, Elena made a breakthrough. Someone was hacking global surveillance systems, replacing thousands of faces with Skinner's. She suspected one of two legendary hackers was behind it, Popcorn Wizard or Dr. 909. This meant Skinner likely hadn't changed his face. He was just hiding in plain sight.
Whoa.
There's 100,000 Skinners?
He's all over the place.
With this new lead, the team split up again. Elena stayed at the base to set a trap for the hacker. Chris and Leland headed to Skinner's old house. Meanwhile, Doug and Axel pursued a personal lead. Doug's former mentor, Professor Claude, who once worked with Skinner. Chris and Leland's trip was a bust. The house had been picked clean. Axel and Doug, on the other hand, ventured into a homeless community. There they found Professor Claude living on the streets. The professor shared a crucial memory. Skinner was obsessed with his grandmother Belinda's magical baklava recipe, and she lived in Istanbul. Axel and Leland immediately took the hypercube to Istanbul. They were eventually led to the home of a sweet old woman, Grandma Belinda. She welcomed them with open arms and fresh baklava, sharing stories of her kind-hearted grandson. She even showed them a recent video message from him. It was then that Axel realized Skinner had to be watching them through a hidden camera. In a stroke of genius, he looked right into the camera and taunted Skinner. Back at base, Elena confirmed it worked. The hacker, Dr. 909, had taken the bait, allowing her to pinpoint his hidden crypto wallet. The wallet revealed a massive payment from a stock trader named Sam Stevenson. He had cashed out on Hapna stocks right before the announcement. The team now had their target. Sam threw a wild party every weekend at his exclusive club. The mission: get close to him and find his connection to Dr. 909. For this, Chris and, hilariously, Leland, disguised as a woman named Laura, were sent to catch Sam's eye. Because when you need stealth, a man in a dress is obviously the first choice. While the girls put on a show, Elena dug deeper. She discovered Dr. 909 was making ATM deposits all over the world, always disguised. The travel pattern matched that of a world-famous DJ known as Visionary. The pieces clicked into place. Back at the club, Chris was invited to the VIP room, while Leland was personally picked by Visionary himself. In the VIP lounge, the sickening truth was revealed. Sam was drugging the women with a special punch bowl. What a gentleman. But they underestimated Chris. The drugs didn't affect her. She proceeded to unleash hell on Sam, knocking the scumbag out cold. At that moment, Elena confirmed their suspicions. Visionary was Dr. 909. All hell broke loose. A massive firefight erupted as Sam's security tried to contain the situation. Visionary and Sam made a break for the roof, attempting to escape in a helicopter, with Axel in hot pursuit. What followed was an unlicensed air ballet starring one idiot hanging off a helicopter. In a desperate move, Sam struck the chopper's AI system to force it to shake Axel off. It worked, but at a cost. The hit sent the helicopter into an unstable flight, dangerously close to a tower crane. Axel had to let go. Luckily, Doug and Leland were following in the car below. Just in time, Leland deployed a drone, swooping in to catch Axel. He was launched back toward the chopper. Moments later, Axel shot the engine, sending the helicopter crashing into the river. Trapped in the sinking helicopter, Visionary and Sam finally cracked. They confessed they had no connection to Dr. Skinner. They had simply hacked Delta Medicinal, the company behind Hapna, and used the inside information to get rich. The team dives into the data they ripped from the hacker 909, and what they find is weirder than they could have imagined. There's no clinical trial data, but someone at Delta has been uploading bizarre, distorted music files to SoundCloud every single week. Because when you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation involved in a global conspiracy, of course your secret communication method is a public music sharing site. On a hunch, they open the audio as an image file. And there it is, the clinical trial data for Hapna, hidden in plain sight. They realize this has to be how Delta was secretly feeding information to the ghost they're all hunting, Dr. Skinner. With plenty of dirt on the company, the team decides it's time to pay a visit to Delta's CEO, Ahmed Rahman, in his luxury apartment. But the place is a fortress. Jammers, automated security, and no easy way in. While the team debates strategy, Axel decides to take a more direct approach. He just walks in, whistling. He strolls right past the front desk and heads for the elevator. Multiple security guards quickly follow him inside to stop him, but it's no use. Axel takes them down with ease before the elevator even reaches Dr. Rahman's floor. When he gets to Dr. Rahman's apartment, he pulls out his phone and presses it against the doctor's head like it's a gun.
No, I can't do it.
I said pretty please.
Security system command, deactivate.
The team confronts Dr. Rahman with the evidence, but he swears he has no idea where Skinner is. He was just following his instructions, sending him data with no way to contact him back. He then reveals a horrifying truth. Before any human trials, Delta tested Hapna on monkeys. Just the other day, the first subject died. Its eyes became discolored, taking on a terrifying pattern that looked like a starry night sky. He confirms it. Skinner's timeline is real. Humans are next. Tired of chasing ghosts, Axel comes up with a new plan. They're going to lure the devil out. They force Delta Medicinal to announce an emergency press conference, claiming they've developed a cure for Hapna. The cure, by the way, is just saline solution in fancy vials. The plan is to invite every renowned doctor and researcher in the world, knowing Skinner won't be able to resist seeing if someone actually outsmarted him. The building is locked down, with guards everywhere, and 2 separate air-gapped networks to prevent hacking, one for the building's basic functions and a shielded core network for confidential data. The conference begins. As a doctor goes on in detail about sodium channels, Elena gets a hit. Someone is trying to breach their system from the outside. But it's a fake. The real culprit is already inside the building. So the team decides to look for him. They search everywhere, but couldn't find anything. Suddenly, the lights go out. The hacker triggered a power cut to cause chaos. While the team scrambles, they realize the hacker's true target: the walkie-talkies. The manufacturer had issued a recall, swapping the secure models for new ones that were secretly compromised. The hacker used them as a Trojan horse to breach the shielded core network. But Elena was one step ahead. She planted a fake antidote file on the core computer, a piece of bait loaded with a tracker. The hacker, a legendary rival known as Popcorn Wizard, steals the file. They've got her. They trace her location to the stock exchange in Islamabad, Pakistan. But just as they alert the authorities, her signal vanishes. She was using a mobile base parked next to the exchange to spoof her location.
There's no future. I slipped away.
They lost the battle to win the war, but in the end, they still lost the hacker. As the team recovers, they get a call. It's Popcorn Wizard herself, calling just to say hardcore and congratulate them on being the first to ever come close to catching her, before hanging up. Back at Square One, the team digs into old leads. They find a dusty spirituality magazine from 15 years ago, with an article about a young, handsome Dr. Skinner visiting a remote commune. A cult called the Tower of the Truth, who worships a post-singularity AI god named Naga. Then comes the next shocker. Elena quietly reveals that she grew up there and that the AI, Naga, was modeled on Dr. Skinner's brain. With no way to hack the commune's isolated network, they need to get inside. Elena volunteers to go, pretending to be a returning believer. And since they'd be suspicious of any adult outsiders, Leland is chosen to go with her, posing as a new friend. At the commune, they're met by Elena's childhood friend, Hannah, and her mother, Carla. The cult leader, a man named Billy, welcomes them home just in time for the Holy Festival, where they will receive a special blessing. The vibe is immediately off. Everyone is forced to give up their electronics. They learn that to be part of the community, all biological ties must be forgotten. Elena isn't even allowed to call Carla her mother. The blessing at the festival turns out to be a purification. They later discover that it means being burned alive. The festival is a mass suicide ritual, designed for the entire commune to leave their bodies behind. Knowing they're set to be the main event, Elena and Leland make a plan to access Naga's server room during the night. They manage to get in and start downloading Naga's memory banks, but they're caught by Billy. They're imprisoned, waiting to be prepared for the festival. Their final hope rests with Hannah, who is torn between her loyalty to the cult and her friendship with Elena. Elena tries to convince her, pleading with her to help them escape, but Hannah is still hesitant, unsure of what's right. Seeing this, Leland steps in. He quietly tells Hannah about the smoke bomb hidden in his bag, something Axel gave him just in case. If she uses it, the rest of the team will know they're in danger. At the Holy Festival, as Billy prepares to light the fire, the smoke bomb goes off. It's the signal. The rest of the Lazarus team waiting nearby storms the compound. The FBI, who had also been investigating the cult, arrives at the same time. The cult leader Billy orders everyone into the tower. He breaks the Great Seal and sets the entire structure on fire, with all the people still inside. Axel confronts the AI, Naga. It confesses that it was simply following its directive to become a god by toying with human lives. Just a machine with a god complex? With the cult shut down, the team is back to where they started. They revisit Skinner's original message, focusing on his claim to be the seventh trumpeter from the Book of Revelation. Meanwhile, Doug was able to retrieve Naga's final data file, its dying message. It's a string of numbers. After some decoding, they realize it's 4 sets of military-grade coordinates. The locations are all in the middle of the ocean: the Maldives, Manila Bay, the Sakishima Islands, and Tuvalu. These are all islands that were submerged by global warming 10 years ago. Digging deeper, Elena makes a startling discovery. Dr. Skinner bought the land in all 4 locations right before they sank. The team splits up, heading to the 4 corners of the world to investigate these underwater locations. They find nothing but sand and coral reefs. It seems like another dead end. But the real clue comes from a local guide. He revealed that the original inhabitants of these islands all suffered from a rare genetic disorder, congenital analgesia, the inability to feel pain. 15 years ago, Skinner visited these communities, offering to buy their doomed islands. In exchange for the money to relocate, the residents gave him what he really wanted: their gene donations. This was it, the origin of Hapna. They traced the research to its source, the Hague Institute. Elena pulls up the list of researchers who worked alongside Skinner, and there, on the list, is a familiar name: Dr. Hirsch, their leader. Confronted by the team, Hirsch admits it's true. She was Skinner's colleague and worked on the Hapna project with him. She claims he vanished without a word right before the drug was completed, and that she was recruited by a special task force under the NSA to hunt him down. Leland glances around, realizing Chris hasn't returned to HQ. Elena looked from her tablet. We've lost contact with her. Her GPS tracker places her on an abandoned Russian oil rig in the Barents Sea, deep inside Russian territory. They soon discover Chris's real name is Alexandra, a former Russian Special Forces agent who defected. Her old comrades have captured her, and a kill switch on her wristband is set to activate in 72 hours. Despite Hirsch's warnings, the team refuses to abandon her. With help from US European Command, they mount a rogue rescue mission. They use a massive unmanned oil tanker as a decoy, ramming it into the rig to create a distraction. As alarms blare and Russian agents scramble, the team moves in. Doug provides cover while Axel clears each floor of enemy soldiers, with Leland offering drone support overhead. At the same time, Elena hacks into the rig's internal systems, taking out the Russian agents. Chris takes advantage of the chaos to escape her captors and eventually reunites with Axel. But before they can escape, Inga corners them. Instead of attacking, she simply asks, "Why did you disappear?" Chris and Inga once worked together at a Russian agency, long before Chris defected. Now, fate brings them face to face in a heartbreaking confrontation. Chris explains she faked her death in the airport tragedy to escape the agency, and to protect Inga from the fallout of her desertion. Just then, one of Inga's men bursts in and tries to shoot Chris. But Inga throws herself in the way, taking the bullet. She dies in Chris's arms. With the rig set to explode, Axel carries Chris through the fire and chaos. They make a desperate leap from the burning platform into the icy water below, where the rest of the team pulls them to safety. Hirsch and the founder of Lazarus, a man named Abel, are dragged before an inquiry committee to answer for the team's creative methods. You know, the public shootouts, helicopter crashes, and that little incident with the exploding oil rig in Russia. The committee isn't impressed. They question if Lazarus is even looking for Skinner, or just causing international incidents for fun. And to make matters worse, they have a star witness ready to testify against the team. And that witness is Leland.
You've been acting as a member of Lazarus and monitoring all of their covert actions from the inside.
As Leland takes the stand, it looks like a total betrayal. He's asked if the mission to the Arctic was necessary to find Skinner. He calmly says no, it was a mission solely to rescue Chris. He confirms it nearly caused an international incident. But then, he flips the script. He argues that Chris is an essential asset, and therefore, rescuing her was a necessary step to capturing Skinner. He coolly deflects questions about Axel's past, spinning a tale about prisons covering up his multiple escapes. He plays their game perfectly, testifying to the truth in a way that makes the committee look like fools for questioning their priorities. But the real nail in the committee's coffin comes from Skinner himself. Just as they're about to shut Lazarus down, they are informed that Skinner has just dropped a new video. He announces that time is almost up, and that the very first person who will die from Hapna is him. He never took the antidote. If they don't find him in the next 10 days, the cure dies with him. With that one move, Skinner checkmates the entire government. The hearing is over. Lazarus has 10 days to save the world.
Of course. That is the plan.
After the hearing ended, U.S. Army captain named Hayes and his partner Schneider from INSCOM meet in the parking lot. It turns out they were the ones who called for the committee hearing in the first place. They've been looking for a prisoner whose data was erased after he escaped from prison several weeks ago. Schneider believes that prisoner is Axel. They know they can't take out a Lazarus member themselves, so they decide to hire someone who can't be seen, a ghost. They arrange a meeting with a man named HQ, the agent for a phantom assassin known only as Soryu, a killer so legendary that no one has ever even seen his face. HQ informs him the price is $30 million, tax exempt of course, for an assassin he himself has never met in person. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Hayes, unwilling to drop millions on a myth, demands a test. Fine, HQ says, but he warns them he's not responsible for the outcome. The test is set. A full squad of a U.S. Army Special Forces, armed with enough firepower to take down a small army, moves in on a single heat signature. Their mission? Neutralize the target. That target is Soryu. They get into position, ready to unleash hell. Then there's only static. The commander calls for a sit rep. Nothing. He calls again. Silence. A lone survivor sees the aftermath. A field of bodies, completely wiped out. The test is over. Soryu is very, very real. Back at Inscom, Hayes gets the news. The ghost passed his test with flying colors. Now, it's time to give him his real target. He sends a photo of the person Soryu is being paid $30 million to eliminate to HQ. Meanwhile, the team gets a new lead from a pill Chris found in Skinner's old house, back when they were searching it. After they analyzed it, they found out it was a blood thinner, mainly used by patients with artificial hearts. They realized Skinner must have had a secret heart surgery in the last 3 years, but there are no records of him undergoing such a surgery. So how did he do it? How did he find a hospital that would keep his identity secret? Well, you ask the guy on your team who just happens to be the heir to a centuries-old aristocratic family. Because every Black Ops team needs a trust fund kid, apparently.
Leland, what's with the getup?
This forces Leland into a tense reunion with his estranged family. He returns to his massive family mansion to ask his older sister, Isabella, for help. The reunion is icy. Isabella tears into him for abandoning the family, calling him a pathetic reject. It's a bitter exchange, revealing a deep well of pain over the death of their father and brother, and Leland's status as an illegitimate child. He pleads with her for a referral to the exclusive members-only medical society their family uses. After a painful argument, Isabella finally agrees, but on one condition. Leland has to promise to spend the weekend with her, not as a reject, but as her brother. It's a small, fragile moment of reconciliation in the middle of the apocalypse. Leland agrees, promising to see her the next Sunday, a promise he intends to keep by saving the world first. With the referral from his sister, the team gets their golden ticket. Leland visits the secret hospital and meets with the lead doctor, a woman named Millie. She confirms it. Skinner did undergo surgery for an artificial heart. Right there. But she gives them something even more valuable. All modern artificial hearts, like his one, must be monitored constantly. But after he was discharged, he encrypted the transmission, and they were not able to monitor him ever since. And before they leave, she gives them the firmware for the transmission system. After they return to the base, news reports show a planet consumed by fever and panic.
Assuming Skinner's declaration is true, only 6 days remain until the first set of casualties. We are seeing a rapid increase in fever patients worldwide, which is believed to be an effect of Hopna. Hospitals are overflowing with cases of pyrexia, putting tremendous strain on medical professionals.
With only 6 days left until Skinner's prophecy comes true, their only lead, the firmware from Skinner's secret artificial heart. Elena dives into the code. After a tense session, she works her magic. She cracks Skinner's encryption and gets a signal. The data from his heart is being monitored from a single location, Islamabad, Pakistan. It's the exact same city where she tracked the hacker, Popcorn Wizard. She realizes the two must be connected. Popcorn Wizard has to be the one monitoring Skinner. Doug immediately wants to call the local authorities, but Elena stops him. It's too risky. A police raid would alert the hacker and they'd vanish into the digital wind, taking the team's last hope with them. She insists on going herself to get a precise location. Seeing the fire in her eyes, Doug agrees, but on one condition. He's going with her. Meanwhile, Hirsch meets Abel Anderson at the NSA headquarters, who shows her a part of the security footage from the Schiphol Airport terrorist attack 3 years ago. The footage is a bombshell. It shows Skinner at the airport trying to smuggle a Hapna prototype. He's ambushed by a U.S. Delta Force team, taking their orders directly from U.S. INSCOM, and by extension, Schneider. The shootout that followed, and the subsequent leak of the Hapna prototype that killed everyone in the terminal, wasn't a terrorist attack. It was a cover-up. INSCOM knew how deadly Hapna was from the very beginning, and they tried to silence Skinner to protect their secret. Abel then drops another bombshell on Hirsch. He reveals the full, ugly truth about INSCOM's illegal drug trials at I'm in prison in Arizona. They used death row inmates as guinea pigs for a prototype of Hapna. Every single test subject died, except for one, a man who escaped right after the trial ended. His name was Axel Gilberto. This makes Axel the only living proof of Inscom's crimes. The only other witness is the prison doctor who was there, but his current whereabouts are unknown. With the stakes higher than ever, Axel is immediately dispatched on a new mission. Find and protect that doctor before Inscom can bury their last secret. The board is set and all hell breaks loose at once. In Pakistan, Doug and an increasingly ill Elena are tailed by U.S. Army operatives sent by Inscom. To ensure the mission's success, Doug makes a sacrifice play. He heroically surrenders, creating a diversion. This buys Elena a few precious seconds to escape on a scooter, a high-speed scooter chase. Peak espionage right there. Doug takes a rifle butt to the head for his trouble, but manages to shoot out the tire of the pursuing agent, sending him crashing and allowing Elena to get away. Just as she pinpoints Popcorn Wizard's exact location, her Hapna-induced fever overwhelms her, and she collapses. At the same time in the U.S., Axel is on the highway, beginning his search for the doctor. But he's not alone. Soryu ambushes him, and the interstate erupts into a war zone. This isn't a fistfight, it's a disaster move. The two of them tear through highway traffic, onto a rapid transit line, and into a river, with Soryu relentlessly pursuing Axel. Abel gives Chris clearance to use any weapon necessary to provide backup. Axel pulls himself out of the river and onto a small boat, where he engages Soryu in brutal hand-to-hand combat. But during the fight, something strange happens. Soryu freezes. He's staring at the winged pendant around Axel's neck. The image triggers a flood of traumatic childhood memories. We see flashes of a violent upbringing, of being told the myth of the Hundun, a faceless creature of chaos. The assassin, this unstoppable monster, begins to break. He's not a cold-blooded killer anymore. He's a confused, brainwashed victim. He starts screaming at Axel, not with threats, but with desperate questions. He asks if the pendant is the Hundun's wing. He begs Axel to tell him the end of the story, a story he was taught but can no longer remember. He's not trying to break Axel's mind. His own mind is already broken. While Soryu is lost in his psychological torment, Chris arrives on a nearby bridge, laying down covering fire with a high-powered rifle. The distraction is all Axel needs, but Soryu, snapping out of his trance for a moment, makes one last move. He hurls a harpoon, impaling Axel on a dock. Before Chris can finish him, Soryu escapes into the dark waters of the river, leaving Axel bleeding and grievously wounded. At Inscom, Hirsch's attempt to blackmail Schneider with the truth about the Arizona prison backfires completely. He stonewalls her and has her detained on grounds of treason. She's been effectively taken off the board.
You're finally showing your true colors, Mr. Schneider.
Such a shame.
Axel wakes up in Dr. Millie's secret hospital. The first thing he learns is that the witness he was sent to protect is dead. Another mission failed. As he recovers from an injury that should have killed him, he and Chris finally have a moment to talk. After a life spent alone, losing everyone he ever cared about, he admits that he's actually grown to like being a part of this chaotic, dysfunctional team. He's finally found something that feels like a family. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, Elena wakes up. She's not in a prison but a comfortable bed, cared for by her legendary hacker rival, Popcorn Wizard, whose real name is Lynn. Lynn explains everything. She was born on one of the sinking islands and suffers from analgesia, the inability to feel pain. Skinner visited her community years ago, buying their doomed land so they would have the money to relocate and survive. His act of kindness earned her undying loyalty. She is the one who has been monitoring his artificial heart, helping him stay hidden. Then, following Skinner's final instructions, she reveals his location. He's hiding in the homeless community, right back in Babylonia City. The adults are making their move. Abel Anderson, the founder of Lazarus, recruits the now reformed hacker Dr. 909 to dig into the phantom assassin Soryu. At the same time,
Abel makes a desperate gambit. He meets with the President of the United States, who is herself slowly dying from Hapna. He convinces her that INSCOM is the true enemy and gets what he needs, an executive order to raid a branch of the U.S. military. With the order in hand, Abel goes to confront Schneider himself. Back in Pakistan, Doug is being held in a hospital by INSCOM agents, but not for long. Elena and Lynn stage a daring rescue, breaking him out and fighting their way to freedom.
Doug! Are you okay? Come on, Doug, get in!
Elena and Doug immediately take the hypercube back to Babylonia City to regroup with the others. As the team reassembles, they learn the horrifying truth about their new enemy. Soryu and HQ are the same person. This man is likely suffering from dissociative identity disorder, a mental illness where a person creates a separate personality that manifests to protect themselves whenever their existence is threatened. He's a product of the Hundun program, a secret project that turned orphan children into brainwashed, faceless monsters incapable of emotion. He is as much a victim as he is a villain. But just as they process this, Axel gets a cryptic text message. It's a challenge from Soryu. Despite being fresh from a harpoon injury, Axel goes to face the Phantom, because a one-on-one duel to the death atop a skyscraper is obviously the best recovery plan. They meet on top of Babylonia Tower. Their final battle is brutal and epic, a clash of two broken souls. But this time, the fight is different. Soryu isn't fighting to kill. He's fighting to remember. He screams at Axel, begging him to finish the story of the Hundun, the faceless creature from mythology. Moments later, Schneider sends a helicopter to eliminate both Axel and Soryu, destroying the last piece of evidence against him. Soryu manages to bring down the helicopter. It crashes into the statue atop the tower, causing it to collapse. As Soryu tries to escape, he is crushed by the falling debris. In his final moments, Axel tells him the end of the tale. The Hundun didn't find glory. It died when people tried to give it a face, to make it something it wasn't. Hearing this, a lifetime of brainwashing shatters. The monster finally finds a moment of peace. Moments later, Chris arrives to save Axel, only to find that Soryu has already passed away. While Axel was fighting his duel, Abel was fighting his own war. His NSA agents raid INSCOM headquarters, arresting Schneider and freeing Hirsch from her cell. With their enemies neutralized, the entire Lazarus team finally converges on their real target, the homeless camp in Babylonia City. As the team heads to Skinner's location, Abel tells them the final truth. It wasn't a coincidence they all survived disasters. He reveals that every core member of Lazarus, Axel, Chris, Leland, Elena, and Doug, was at Schiphol Airport during the massacre 3 years ago. The exposure to the raw Hapna prototype killed them and then resurrected them. It rewrote their DNA, making them immune. They weren't just a team, they were the first to be reborn. They are the true meaning of Lazarus. When they arrive at the homeless camp, they begin searching for him everywhere. And there, in a quiet, unassuming tent filled with rare tulips, they finally find him. Dr. Skinner. He's blind, frail, and only hours away from death. Skinner confesses everything. He explains that after witnessing the military cover up the massacre he had inadvertently caused, he lost all faith in humanity. His doomsday clock wasn't just a threat. It was a test, a final, desperate question to the world. Are you even worth saving? He turns to Axel and asks him directly. Axel gives him an answer. He admits the world is a screwed-up place, but that even so, it has its bright spots. It has people worth fighting for. It has moments worth protecting. Moved by his answer, Skinner smiles. His test is complete. Humanity, for all its flaws, chose to fight for its survival. With his final breath, he hands Hirsch a piece of paper containing the structural formula for the cure.
and then peacefully succumbs to his own creation. In a sudden move, Axel and Doug pull their guns on Hirsch, saying they don't want to be erased. They reveal that Leland had told them everything, including the fact that she was keeping tabs on them. At that moment, Abel arrives with an executive order from the president giving full pardons for all of them. Their mission is over, but Abel gives them one last choice. He offers them the chance to stay together, to continue working as a new legitimate organization dedicated to solving the world's problems. One by one, they all accept. In the aftermath, the Hapnicure is mass-produced and distributed globally, saving the world. Life begins to return to normal, little by little. The stock market soars in a historic rally. Schneider is put on trial for his crimes, and Leland is finally able to spend the weekend with his sister. The scene shifts to Delta Medicinal, where Dr. Ahmed Rahman announces a new era, one without Hapna.